Morning, Ed.
Morning, Ryan. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. Hey, doesn't need to even be this week, but if you have maybe 15, 20 minutes, I just want to understand exactly what data points you need out of the regional housing stuff. I've started to pull that together in people, but I just wanted, before I fully meet with everyone, wanted to just touch base with you for a quick meeting to make sure I'm on track.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll look at my calendar right
Yeah,
after this meeting and
there should be a
suggest
couple of
something.
chances and we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. And did you see the TAP projects, transportation alternatives projects?
Yes, yes.
Cool. Yeah, that's exciting.
No, there's, a lot of really good stuff that either has kicked off or is very close.
Yep, very cool. Hey, Nate.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Hey, Mindy, have you heard back from Rural Prosperity yet?
No, have you?
No, I haven't.
Mm, that was one of my questions today. I even checked my spam folder just in case.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to give it a couple more minutes here while people trickle into the meeting, and then we'll get started. All right, it looks like people have stopped trickling in now, and I'm gonna get started with the meeting. Um, welcome all to the November 20th meeting of the CEDS RHP, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. And on our agenda today, we have introductions. We have a guest speaker. It's Jennifer Rigterink from Michigan Municipal League. She's going to tell us about the My Home program. It's a comprehensive and multifaceted program for housing development. And then after that, we have an agenda item for addressing the RHP work groups. These are newly formed groups that will be taking the lead with the Regional Housing Partnership. Then we have to establish our 2026 schedule. So I'm going to propose some meeting dates, and you tell me if those work. And then, as always, we have the upcoming grants, trainings, and events. Um, we're going to get started with introductions now. Um, here's a list of our 2026 SEDS committee and our regional housing partnership. But I'm going to go through a roll call here, and I'm going to start with Ed Legault.
Good morning, Ryan and everyone. Great to see you. Ed Legault, the Executive Director of the Delta County Economic Development Alliance.
Thank you, Ed. And Abby Hansen. Glad to have you.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you. Yep, I'm Abby Hansen with Eagles Brownfield Redevelopment Program.
Thank you. Amy Berglund.
Good morning, everyone. Amy Berglund, Director of Business Initiatives with Invest UP.
Thanks, Amy. And we have another Amy, Amy Kratz.
Good morning, everyone. Talent Development Liaison for the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, Workforce Development, Sector Strategies.
That's a mouthful. Thank you. Dave Nyberg.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Dave Nyberg, Executive Director for Business Engagement and Economic Development at Northern Michigan University.
Thank you, Dave. Deanna.
Good morning, everyone. Deanna Johnson, Executive Director, Marquette County Habitat for Humanity.
Thank you. And Emily Bosch.
Everyone, Emily Bosch, Community Planner with QPAD.
Thank you. And we have Jackie Solomon.
Good morning, everyone. Marquette County Treasurer, the Chairman of the County Land Bank, and the Director of our Brownfield Authority.
Welcome, Jackie. And Joe Teal.
Good morning, everyone. Joe Teal over Innovate Marquette Smart Zone. Look forward to a good meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Jordan.
Jordan Stankina, City Manager for Iron Mountain.
Thank you. Kathy Reynolds.
Good morning, everybody. CEO of Greater Munising Bay Partnership and the Munising Downtown Development Authority.
Thanks, Kathy. Lexi.
Morning, everyone. Executive Director of the Menominee Business Development Corporation. And Lexi Hagan. Kind of said that backwards.
Thanks. Mindy Myers.
Hello, Mindy Myers. I'm the Executive Director of the Dickinson Area Economic Development Alliance.
Thank you. Nate Hevron.
Good morning, Nate Heffron, City Manager at the City of Negaunee.
Thanks. And Phil Britton.
He's in a loud room, so he's going to stay on mute.
Oh. Okay. Victoria George.
Morning, Victoria George with Schoolcraft Tourism and Commerce.
Thanks. And last but not least, Vince Bevins.
Thank you, Ryan. Vince Bevins with the Michigan Department of Transportation for the Superior region here in the UP.
Thank you. And I see Lynn Durant just joined.
Yep, sorry I'm late. Lynn Durant, Supervisor, Marquette Township.
Thank you, Lynn. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right, and we also have Jen Rigterink in here, so I'll pass it over her and she can introduce herself.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jen Rigterink with the Michigan Municipal League. I'm part of our state and federal affairs team, and thank you for having me here today to talk about housing. Ryan, I can see your lips moving, but I think you're on mute.
I'm sorry. I enabled screen sharing, so if
Okay.
you would like to launch it, then you're good to go.
All right. Let me do that. It says someone else is sharing. So maybe you have to stop sharing. Okay. Let me try again. Okay, can you see that? Can you see anything?
Yes.
Okay. You're going to see me looking sideways because it's showing up on my other screen instead of the one with my camera. But today I am here to talk to you about the My Home program, Partnership Over Preemption. This is a proposal that the MML put together and kind of announced or rolled out back in mid-August. Knowing that, our state, just like the country, is in a housing crisis, we were trying to come up with something that would promote zoning reform, as well as actually result in the building or rehabbing of more homes. This proposal is meant to be in addition to existing programs, not take away from anything that is currently out there, so it could fund this proposal. Happy to take questions as I'm going along. However, if somebody has a question, I'm happy to stop and answer that. But maybe Ryan, you can just let me know if anybody puts something in the chat or raises their hands. So the My Home program, housing is a top issue for our state, but a top issue for MML members. We need to build more homes, rehab more homes, and this proposal will do that, result in that. It also maintains local zoning decision making, but it allows for reforms to be done, but those that match that community context, not a just straight preemption, one size fits all blanket approach. And then again, we're really pushing this as partnership over preemption. This is municipalities partnering with the state as well as builders and developers in this program. It's a targeted policy proposal. We'll jump into kind of what the 4 or 5 key components are. It's addressing home ownership and rentals. It's providing resources directly to builders and developers. You don't see a lot of times where an organization proposes a program where their members aren't the direct benefits of the funding. And so, I think that's important here as well. And then it's creating long and short-term benefits, which we'll go over as we go through this. So there's 5 components: the activities, program eligibility and qualifications, the limits and standards, monitoring and reporting, and penalties if we have to, if something has to be penalized. I'm going to spend more time talking about the program activities and the eligibility with you today. And so if you have questions about the other ones, we can definitely go through those. So the My Home program is a 5-year proposal with $160 million of annual investment. It takes 2 existing programs that are currently not funded now that we are in the new fiscal year as of October 1st, which was the Housing Readiness Grant Initiatives. That was funding for municipalities, including counties, for any kind of planning, zoning, or processes that would make housing easier in your municipality. So whether that's updating old zoning, that's putting together a housing plan or sub-plan, or it's just going through and mapping out your processes for projects to come in for approval and removing any unnecessary steps. I know that some recipients are using the funding to help set up a housing commission. So there's anything that has to do with getting more housing into your community, these grants. Fully prescribed, so it's not available any longer. So we would like to bring that back, and we're calling it the My Home Readiness under this program. But it would also include, besides those grants, a statewide matchmaking platform. So eligible communities under this program would be able to market their housing project opportunities, whether that is infill, whether it is, a blighted acre or blighted project, or a blighted property that has been demolished and is sitting there primed for redevelopment. And so we think that will help, because a lot of our members say their local builders are, building single family custom homes or building second homes. They are making their mark annually. And so there's no incentive for them to try and do something differently. And then they're not getting responses to when they put out RFPs or RFQs on housing projects. So we think being able to market on a state website would allow developers and builders to see opportunities throughout our state, as well as builders and developers outside of our state. And maybe they would get involved and go visit that they've never heard of, if not for that website marketing the opportunities. The second part is would be a newly created under this program called the My Home Grant. And this would provide grants directly to qualified builders and developers for either building or rehabbing homes. And so these would, right now in the proposal, it's $100,000 per unit for new construction, or $30,000 per unit for rehab. We're looking at upping that rehab number, but in the original proposal, if you were to look at our information online, you would see the $30,000 in there. And I should also say that that grant cannot be for over 1/3 of the total project cost. So it's up to $100,000 of new construction, or 1/3 of the project, whichever you would hit first. The other new program that would be introduced under this is the My Home Fund. This would be a statewide revolving loan fund. And so this would just have money infused in it in the first 2 years of the program. And then as it revolves, this would be one of those long-term benefits, because the revolving loan program would live on past the 5 years of the My Home program. And it would be able to continue to revolve, continue to put capital into housing projects across the state. And then the My Home Employer Assisted Housing Fund. This is another existing program MISTA currently has. There was no new funding for it in our current budget right now, this fiscal year. And it's almost fully prescribed to. I was just with Director Hovey on Tuesday in a panel, and this one is pretty much used up. And so we think this is a great program where we can partner with employers who know that they need housing in order to attract and retain employees. And so this would get a $10 million annually. And again, it's an existing program. We would want to fund it under the My Home program. Additional program components and how a municipality becomes eligible for builders and developers to tap into the grant and loans piece would kind of really falls under the local reform. So it's going to be this program is promoting zoning reforms and increasing efficiency around housing-specific zoning changes. So local units of government that proactively make or have made, because we want to give places credit for the zoning reform work they've already done and have been doing for years. There are 14 recommended best practices in the My Home program, which are on the next slide I'll show you. A community would have to have completed 50% of those, so 7, to be able to be eligible and be a My Home community. And then compliance with recommended actions would be approved by the state, assuming the state would be MSHDA, that MSHDA would be overseeing and running the program. And those are conversations we've had. And so I'm confident in saying if this is something that comes to fruition, MSHDA would be overseeing it. These are the 14 recommended best practices right now. And a lot of these are taken from last lame duck. We saw preemption legislation. So some of these are coming directly from that preemption legislation. Some of these are coming directly from the zoning reform toolkit that the League and the Michigan Association of Planning has worked on over the years, as well as MSHDA's housing readiness best practice guide on how to be a housing ready municipality. So some of these have come directly out of that as well. I think you'll see Strong Towns influence is sprinkled in a lot of the zoning reform, since they were early adopters talking about this information. But of these 14, a municipality would have to have completed 7. And yes, the devil's in the details of what exactly these mean. And we are actually working on, I spent my morning going through a bill draft of how we're defining these and what these mean. But ultimately, MSHDA would be the one that would say a community has completed that step or not. And just for any folks on here that may be thinking, oh, that's easy. This is a loophole of some kind. It's not. The League does not work in loopholes in trying to, create things as a cover for something else. What we're trying to do is allow municipalities to get credit for the zoning reforms they have already been made and been working on for years, because the state has no priority in funding housing projects in the places that have already done these reforms, as well as allowing that community context to still happen in local zoning decision makings, instead of, again, that blanket. Preemption is a blanket, one size fits all. It would wipe out the hard work that a lot of municipalities have already done. And it just doesn't work as easily as it sounds. And we ask, how many homes will actually come out of preempting? We haven't found an answer to that yet, but I can tell you this program proposal, as we looked around, the country at other housing programs and what was going on, we found something in Ohio, which, sorry for any Ohio State fans in the meeting. It's hard to say we took something from Ohio, but really took this Welcome Home Ohio project or program that they had, chewed it up and spit it back out to be more Michigan specific. In looking at the funding and resources they had put into the program, as well as the results they were already seeing, we are very confident in saying that the $160 million over 5 years, so an $800 million investment in a total over 5 years, would result in over 10,000 homes being built or rehabbed. And, is that going to solve our housing crisis? Absolutely not, but it's a step in the right direction. And in order to start to make a move, we actually do need to see new investment, on top of the funding and the housing programs that we already have existing in the state. And so that's where we think this would come up with that. Some additional details: eligible properties would include single family homes, condos, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, units within a larger development. They would be income qualified, so anything that's up to 120% of the area median income. We know there's been a lot of focus on that 60 to 80% AMI. We really didn't want to put a floor in there, so anything up to. So if the unhoused, homelessness, if you wanted to work with a developer on a project for transitional housing or moving folks into housing that are unhoused, this program would be eligible for something like that, as long as the community will qualify. Again, it's for home ownership for a primary residence, or it's for rental rehab. Under qualified developers, we put, private and nonprofit, as well as an individual. So if someone did have the ability to purchase a home for their primary residence, but it really needs some rehab to make it livable for that individual or that family, then that person would actually be eligible to apply for the grant or the loans to bring their home up to code or replace the HVAC, whatever needed to be done that way. We also see that as helping to build equity for individuals, and so there is a time frame of 10 years where the program, we tried to match this up with a lot of MSHDA's existing programs and requirements. So this doesn't, a builder or developer that is used to using MSHDA's programs wouldn't have to do something new and different in working with this program. We see this as layering with housing TIF, layering with, the different My Neighborhood programs, not being out on its own. Working with one of our city managers recently, we were told that they have quantified it takes 100 to 150,000 additional to actually make a home or a unit affordable once you have paid for, what it costs. And so that's where we think this program could come in and help actually fill that gap, whether it's through the grant, through the financing of the loan, or both, that would help actually make more of these projects, more of these units affordable. Let me see here. Oh, so I guess I got ahead of myself with some of the impacts. Like I said, it would result in over 10,000 homes being built or rehabbed. We'd have those long-lasting impacts of creating a statewide revolving loan fund specific to housing, as well as those zoning reforms that are being done will be long-term impacts as well. Once that's done, that will apply to any and everything that comes into that community. More efficiency is going to help with any kind of project. And then some statewide statistics, just because we put this in and wanted to make sure it matched up with other existing things. The governor set that 5-year housing goal of 75,000 housing units. We actually hit that goal a year early. And so we are having a lot of success, but there is more that needs to be done. And so we can expect, I don't need to read these to you, you can read them. But that in a nutshell is the My Home program. And so I would be happy to answer any questions or take any feedback, because this is a proposal. And so while the league put the proposal out there, what we've been doing since mid-August is gathering feedback, answering questions. We are working on bill drafts to actually get the My Home Program Act introduced. And we've been meeting with groups, just like your group, all across the state, to make them aware, to look at the program. If you are comfortable pledging your support of the proposal to, get it into a reality, I will drop here in the chat the link to our webpage on the program. And then I can answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you very much, Jen. That was a great presentation, and it seems like a really good mix of old proven ideas and new ideas, and I'm hopeful that it gets funded. Lynn had a question in the chat. I'm wondering if you want to come off mute, Lynn, and ask it. Or if not, I can read yours.
The screen keeps moving. I didn't know where I was. Yeah, I'm just wondering how the last couple of things you mentioned were the rehab side of it. So, how would John Q. Public proceed with this? Do they have to contact MISTA? Do they have to find a developer who's aware of this? Or, who do they
Well,
call?
as of right now, it's just a proposal. And so once it were hopefully becomes a program, I think when, any of your nonprofits or for-profits that provide housing resources to residents would want to be aware of the program and would help steer that resident. But they could talk to MISTA, who would then tell them about the builders and developers in the area. But what it would really come down to is that the municipality would have to qualify for the My Home program funding to be spent in their community. And so as long as a community, has done at least 50% of those zoning reforms, that would then qualify them and allow that resident to go to MISTA and ask for a loan or a grant. And then, they would have to use a qualified licensed builder and follow all the state codes and things like that. But I would see that once this is a program that MISTA and the different housing resource organizations out there would be sharing that information with residents.
And so are you looking for our support with this, or how would we, because we're quite a diverse group here of.
So we are looking for support as well as feedback. I'm going to put our web page address right in the comments, the chat right now. That will take you, and actually, if you don't mind, Ryan, I will share my screen again.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, let me. Okay. So this is on the League's website, the My Home program. So there is this sign up to show your support. If folks think the proposal would be worthy and would like to see it move forward. We have a one-pager as well as the full proposal coverage of the press conference when we unrolled this. This is our executive director talking about the program and its impacts. We have information on here. We have other supporters who have signed on already. You can click these drop downs. And then we have, we're featuring members and organizations, companies that are talking about the My Home program and why they think it would be beneficial. And so my ask of you, Lynn, specifically being a municipality would be, again, this is of the proposal, since it's not a program yet, but to go in, look it over, and then if you're comfortable, either taking that to your board of trustees or just you as the Marquette Township, individual working for Marquette Township to support. There's lots of different ways.
Are the 14 points on there too that would be
the 14 points are under the full proposal.
Okay.
Right here on the side. Now you will see right here, this one says reduce tap fees. And in my slides, and Ryan, if you want to share, I think I sent you a PDF, but feel free to share that with the group as well. We have taken out reduced tap fees because we have become aware that you can, depending on how you're reducing those tap fees, you could set yourself as a municipality up for litigation, and we didn't want to do that. So we replaced that with universal design standards so that we're thinking about building things in a way that can be easily converted as somebody either ages in place or, removable shelving and cupboards, say in not cupboards, a like linen closet in a bathroom that you could easily remove. And now you have that radius to be able to have a wheelchair in there that can turn around and has room to do what it needs to do. So But yes, so on the website, you'll find all of that information. And happy after the fact. If anybody has questions even after this and you have time to take a look at that, I'm
Do you have
happy to
a
answer
deadline,
questions.
Jen? Sorry.
No, I mean, we are working right now. I was shooting for the end of the year for a bill to be introduced. I think we're looking more just strategically early next year. There's not many days left of session this year, and I don't want something introduced and then kind of just lost in the holidays. So we'll be looking at next year. One of the big questions I get to is about funding. Where's the funding going to come from? And the answer to that really is that if housing is a priority for the legislature and the administration, and the priority that they say it is, in the crisis that they say it is, they're going to find funding for priorities. We saw that in this last budget. There was funding found for priorities. And if there's still savings to be found in a budget, as some of our legislators are saying, then that savings could also go towards funding something like this. So that's, all to be worked out. But, we could also get the My Home Program Act passed, and it sits there until it's funded. So I don't have my magic 8 ball. If you're one of our members, you'll see I use that a lot of times to try to predict things. But, we're hoping to have it introduced early next year, get it over the hump before the end of the next year, hopefully get it into next year's budget, since we know that the different departments are already working and have a deadline to submit for their budgets for next fiscal year already.
And I will be sure to put the link in my post-meeting email for offering support and include the presentation as well. I saw, Joe, you had your hand up. Would you like to ask a question?
I was just going to talk about, again, the accessibility piece, and I think you covered that. I think there was been some conversations regarding making rentals or other dwellings accessible to people with disabilities. And so I saw you did answer that. So that was my question. I had that come up a couple of times. And so this seems like the program would cover that. So that's excellent. Thank you. I was answered. Thanks, Ryan.
So I see there's a question about if MML's reviewed the new HUD NOFO, and no, we have not. But what we are relying on MISHDA is that they have reviewed that, and then they have provided anything in the bill draft that would enact the program to make sure that the standards would match up, because MISHDA gets a lot of their funding from HUD and would have to be in compliance. And we'd want to make sure that this program would be in compliance with whatever they have to do.
And then we have another question from Antonio. Antonio, would you like to come off mute and ask? Otherwise, I can.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just similar to, I guess you talked about the employer assisted program that MISHDA was looking to roll out. There were conversations about having a pilot for rural allocation component target market. Does this program address rural versus urban pots funding and allocations that there may be eligibility for?
Yeah, it does not currently have any kind of a target or a certain percentage that has to spend in rural versus urban. And those are conversations we believe we will be having going forward, just to make sure. We do want to make sure, but again, it would have to be that rural community has done the same zoning reform that any other municipality has done, and that and already to have those builders and developers be able to access that My Home Fund and that My Home Loan Fund.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Just please keep that into consideration. The entire Upper Peninsula is considered rural, so we would not want to compete against Detroit, Grand Rapids, or Ann Arbor in some of these opportunities.
Definitely understandable. The other thing, and Antonio, if I am mixing you up with someone else, do you work with the land bank?
I do, in Marquette
Okay.
County.
So I would also note that we did make land banks an eligible builder or developer. And also we were looking at adding land banks to be able to access, it's not currently in there, but in conversations we've been having, those capacity that My Home Readiness grants, looking at adding land banks is an eligible grant recipient of that as well. And to help with, county housing plans, things like that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate that. That's a really good point. I think that was discussed at our association summit in Marquette. The other thing I would just point out as you say that is, our struggle here in the UP potentially is with local units of government like townships that, if there were eligibility for that component as well, not just a builder developer or, developer partner, that is really kind of the struggle in capacity building. Just something to consider too, to make that a little bit more accessible from the smaller local units that need help.
Yeah, the housing readiness grants would be available or for any municipality, regardless if they have done the zoning reform, because we'd want them to be able to access the grant to be able to have the funding to get some of those zoning reforms done and through the process of amending public meetings and approval. And so the only reason we have not made a municipality eligible for as the builder or developer, because we do have in some instances where that municipal has become the developer of last resort. I have a city manager over on the east side whose wife has told him he must retire as soon as this fourplex is done because he's losing his mind over it. But they needed housing and they could not get anyone to come and step up and take the project on. So the city did themselves. And we wanted to make sure that we weren't getting pushback that this program is just to give more money to our members. And so, if MISTA down the road wanted to say change that to make municipalities eligible as well. But again, we really are pushing the partnership where the municipality, whether it's a city, village, township, or county, is partnering with a builder developer to access these funds.
Thank you very much.
Are there any more questions for Jen? If not, I'm going to thank you, Jen, for joining us. And it seems like a great program. And I'll get the information out there to our group, and people can contact you later if they have any follow-ups.
Yep. Thank you so much. And everyone have a great Thanksgiving next week.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
All right, I'm going to get back to my presentation. And we have these housing work groups that we've established. We established them in each of our 6 counties. We have in Alger County, Kathy Reynolds is leading it up. It's the Alger County Housing Committee. In Delta County, Ed Legault's heading it up, and it's the Delta Hannibal Task Force. Mindy Myers is heading up the Dickinson Infrastructure and Housing Task Force. Christopher Germain is heading up the Housing Now RHP Subcommittee. Lexi Hagan is with the Menominee Housing Committee. And Victoria George, oh, I don't have her name on here, but she's with the Schoolcraft Resilience Committee. And so some of these groups have not met yet for their inaugural meeting, but a couple of them have, and we're just getting started. We're building our teams and getting the program figured out. But if anybody who is the lead of any of these groups would like to share insights or revelations from their first meeting, then please feel free to share.
Hey, Ryan, do you want me to talk a little bit about Alger County?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. So, we had our first meeting a few weeks ago or a couple weeks ago. We're I'm just doing like 12 to 15 people. Now, some other, we're not the largest county, of course, out there, but sometimes this is just my opinion too. Everybody's got a different opinion. So sometimes you get something, honestly, in my mind, too big, then people don't talk a lot, right? So I wanted it to be a conversational thing too, and people feel open to talking about because I've included and it's on that list and everybody's got it and you probably are doing it if if you haven't started yet, you probably maybe want to include it. The people that are developers or people that have been interested, local investors in doing a project, typically those people you don't see at housing meetings, honestly. You see economic developers, you see people from state offices, different authorities, things like that, where, we've got a few people there that actually have tried or are trying to do a housing project and just being real open, right, Ryan? You were there, very open about what their challenges have been and trying to solve some of that. So it's a little bit of a different twist, I think, sometimes in some of the other housing, conversations I've been in, at least, because it brings it down, of course, more to a local level too, right? It's not up a regional or it's not a state and that type of thing. So, I think it's good to have that. And it's really good to have a good mix of some people that maybe have never been included. I've got some real estate people that are coming, somebody from zoning and planning, in the community, for the city, a land bank person, just really across the board, a very wide spectrum of people, but still a small enough group that I think people feel open to just discuss their gripes, I guess, too, and then try to figure out solutions from there. Is that kind of what you're looking at, Ryan?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I thought from your meeting, I thought it was a nice group that, it was small enough for discussion, but, it also had all the right people there that kind of closed the loop. And I thought that was great. But as we go forward here, we're going to have this is going to be a standing agenda item on these CEDS meetings. We're going to have group sharing based on the monthly reports out of these groups, and hopefully, we build an emerging project pipeline that we can share and we can all know what else is going on across the region. And, if anybody ever has any suggestions on what else I can add or how I can change it, I'm always open to suggestions. Um, would anybody else like to share on the progress on their committees? And
I'll
if
share,
not, that's
Ryan.
go ahead.
I just wanted to state that the Alliance has had a Infrastructure and Housing Development Task Force since its inception of our organization. However, now with these the new RHP housing work groups, we will be focusing on doing a housing needs assessment in 2026. So I'm hopeful to hear back from the Office of Rural Prosperity soon, but if not, we are still ready to conduct that study. And I think that's something before we can move forward with some of our other planning, having that housing needs assessment is really important. So we have a true understanding of what we need here as far as housing goes in Dickinson.
Thanks, Mindy, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you. Hopefully, you hear back soon. Lexi,
Ryan?
was it? Oh, go ahead, Ed.
I was just going to say we have not had our first meeting yet, but I have had an opportunity to talk about the group and what I view as its plan, or how we can improve things with several people. Everyone I've talked to is very excited and willing to join the organization. I had a couple people before I could even talk to them, send me stuff as we had talked about it during the task force meeting, saying they would love to be involved. So we'll have our first meeting probably in the next couple weeks, and we'll go from there.
Great. I'm glad to be a part of it, Ed. Thanks. And Lexi, did you want to share anything?
We did have an initial meeting scheduled with into our existing MBDC meetings. And we're still looking to maybe identify some additional folks to participate in those conversations beyond just who's on the board right now. So still some early things going on, and we're gonna work it out.
Sounds good. Thank you. Um, and Christopher, did you want to share anything?
Yeah, sure. I guess I can I put a link in the chat if anyone didn't see that. Obviously, we got back from Lansing about 2 weeks ago with the Home Builders Association's first ever Coalition of the Year award. So that coming all the way up to the Upper Peninsula, I think is a huge win given who we were likely up against in that category, right? Basically everybody else, since no one had ever won it before. So in case anyone wants to look at it, I've been like using it as motivation. So it's like sitting next to my desk right now. But beyond that, we met the other week and we're updating our 2026 strategy. We're going to be integrating more education, really to try to tackle, right, the NIMBYs who are showing up to meetings and people just widely misunderstand how housing works and why it's so expensive in the first place. And that the real enemy is the formula, right, not the developer. And so how we work through that. So we're going to be doing that. We're hoping to do some bigger events. We're also hoping to amp up our developer support. So I think a number of you were at CEDM's boot camp here a couple months ago. We're not going to replicate boot camp, but we do think there's a significant need for some sort of ongoing mentorship, maybe ongoing training for developers beyond the actual meetup events that we do, which are also awesome. So we're going to be doing that, and we're also establishing some subcommittees of Housing Now, specifically to work on some of these issues like local governments and finance and likely affordable housing, and all those various pieces. So we should have an updated 2026 strategy in the next couple of weeks. I'm supposed to take it to my board after Thanksgiving. That may not happen on time. I'm going to do my best.
Thank you. I think, just this initial report out just shows us how much we're all at different stages in all of our communities, and we're going to try to make this work for at the stage that we're at and build from there. So I'm hopeful to get it going. So I'm wondering, what topics should we explore in 2026? I came up with a few different items here. I'm wondering if you see value in any of these, if you think some are priorities over others, and looking for your input.
I'll jump in maybe immediately and just say that that third one in terms of the permitting coordination and like best practices around that is a big need that we've heard in every meeting we've had. One of the things I didn't mention in our strategy for 26, but we're going to try to tackle what I think is the big question here, which is how do we work better with our building department, the county level, which a week goes by that we don't hear something about the county building department. We know they're really great guys. We just think they're like likely under-resourced. And so how do we help them get better resourced and more efficient is going to be a huge focus area for us. So the more we can learn from what others are doing, I think the better off we'd be.
Yes, I agree. When I came up with that bullet point, I was thinking about the Housing Now meeting that we were at.
Good.
Anyone else?
Guys, this is why I say Ohio State stuff, because you just give me the floor. So if other people would say things, you wouldn't hear as many OHs.
Well, I'm gonna second the permit coordination of the permits and maybe like best practices in working with our county permitting folks.
Chris, check out my hat. I put it on just for you. Go blue.
Oh, come on, really? I'm like, I gotta get really close. I'm just getting old. I can't quite see it. And so it's like, oh, no, no, you gotta get rid of that. Come on. Like, I didn't wear my hat today.
You
So
did the other day though, so
I
this is
did the
getting
other
you
day.
back.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Antonio, of course. All right, hang on, guys. We can bring our little gnome to the party. So cute.
I'm gonna jump in here. I do have a suggestion about maybe the next year looking at how to get other local units of government up to speed on everything we're learning as we go. I mean, that might not be a Marquette County specific initiative. That might be a regional area specific goal. So I was just kind of chatting with Christopher. There is a deliverable that I have by December to create a local housing playbook. This is based on the original $50,000 grant that came from the Office of Rural Prosperity in partnership with the donation from the Community Foundation, the LSCP, Invest UP. So as I draft that into the next month here, I'll be sharing that with this group for feedback. That's really gonna the goal there is to just take that document and make it replicable across local units of government so that they can, if they don't have staff dedicated to housing, that's okay. They can read through that manual and try to figure out ways to be a catalyst for housing redevelopment at any level, whether it's small scale, large scale, just getting folks ready to take the next step. So I'm really excited to share that hopefully next month. So stay tuned for that. But I would like to see some implementation of that into 2026 and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, and noted. That's a good idea. And yeah, I can see a lot of these items kind of fitting within that. Um, so yeah. Um, any others?
Ryan, this is
Yes.
just one that I know has come up. You know, obviously, as we have housing projects, trying to get developers, they have a lot of things they're already working on. So that has been a challenge. And what that's done is we have newer developers that are looking to get into the market. And some of the MISHDA programs in the past have, if you have done business with MISHDA, the opportunity for support was much higher than if I was a newer developer. And I wonder if there's some way that as we try to welcome new developers into the area because we have so much demand, uh, if we can try to level that playing field out as we look at financial support for different projects, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does, absolutely. I would spotlight the emerging developers meetings that have been hosted in Marquette County, and those are really great for peer-to-peer learning. And yeah, so that would probably be an important component of it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, I'll take those suggestions and kind of work it into our work plan for 2026.
Ryan, I had another thought too.
Yeah, go ahead, Lynn.
When I don't even remember which housing meeting it was, there are so many anymore. Um, I had suggested, based on what I learned from Renovari discussions, that we have some kind of a county. Well, let me back up. It should be more like a municipal checklist. And I have mentioned it to my planning department, and I think they're working on it. But one of the things that Mitch said when he got involved with the Renovari project was it was so difficult for them to go from community to community and not know, whether it's at the county level or local, what the process was. And I think it was Mishta who said that they might be working on that. So if I think that's important enough to add to your list for next year to talk about, so that especially the emerging developers, like Ed was saying, they have no clue what Negaunee does, or anything in Alger County or Marquette County or Tilden Township. I mean, everything's different. And they do need some kind of a checklist. And I think that would be easy enough for the planning departments if they have one to do something. I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Housing Ready guide has checklists in it.
I wondered, okay,
Yeah,
maybe that's where it
I
came
I
from.
think it does.
Okay,
I'll
thanks.
verify that though and send that out as well. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna move on to our 2026 proposed meeting dates, and I want you to take a look at these and let me know if any of these are on any important dates, if there's any reason to move any of these. So I'll send out this presentation as well, and you can let me know later if any of these don't work. But I'll plan on locking these in and making adjustments later if there's any feedback. And then we have our grant opportunities, training opportunities, events, and other news. So the Mishta My Neighborhood program is still open. I think it's on its last window now, and it's accepting applications until December 12th. So this is the last one of the year, and so get your applications in or get your developers aware of it and file an application. Next, we have the My Neighborhood CDBG. This opened not long ago, but it's a letter of intent process, so fairly simple. And Michelle will work with you on your project idea after you send the letter of intent. And then MDARD has the Rural Development Fund Grant, and applications are due by December 3rd. So the deadline is coming up on that. Next, the Michigan Infrastructure Office announced its Infrastructure Pre-Development Project Accelerator Pilot Program, and that is open until December 1st. Since we are not a metropolitan planning organization, we don't have any in our region. The program requires a letter of support from your regional planning agency, and that is QPAD. So I'm requesting that if you are submitting an infrastructure project through this application, if you would contact me by November 24th for a letter of support, then that would be great. And then on training opportunities, MSU Extension is doing a Governing Essential series. It covers a lot of the basics, like Open Meetings Act, and the dates for this series are December 3rd, December 10th, and 17th. And then we don't really have any events on the schedule. We don't have Building Michigan Communities Conference until May. That's in Lansing. But I wanted to make you all aware that we have some leftover funding from our RHP Actions grant. That's what we use to fund the CEDM boot camp. So I was thinking that we would maybe fund registrations again and take a cohort of people down to Building Michigan Communities. That was pretty successful last time. I think we were able to get about 15 people from our region to make a really good showing at that. So happy to make that happen again.
That was one
Um,
of the best conferences I've ever been to. It was so good.
it was really great.
That's a great idea, Ryan. We should totally make a strong showing.
Yep, I'm all about it. So
Is there money available for us to have matching shirts?
maybe.
Like a family reunion?
And in other news, I don't know if Jen Rigterink is still on the call and can provide any insight in this, but these two land division bills are still sitting, waiting for the Senate final vote, and they're just about to cross the finish line, but they haven't moved. So, um, Jen, if you're here, feel free to jump in. But maybe she's not. And there's the Michigan Infrastructure Office is looking for a new cohort of asset management champions, and that program runs from January 13th to April 28th. If you're interested, there's more information in this flyer, and I'll be sending it out after our call here. And then, I also wanted to share some news that transportation alternative program projects were announced, and Delta County got 151,000 for phase one of their corridor program, US 2, US 41 corridor program, and then 952,000 for implementation and 28. And then Dickinson County also was awarded. They got 872,000 to do paved shoulders and bike lanes on Pine Mountain Road and Westwood Avenue. So congratulations to them. And I just wanted to let you know about an EDA application that was recently submitted by the Ironworkers Local 8 JATC, and that would seek to support EDA support to outfit its new 17,000 square foot training center in Harvey with modern equipment and to construct small adjacent storage facility. The facility will be shared with the bricklayers and allied craft workers, local 2, expanding its scope into multi-trade regional training center. So they would increase their training capacity from 20 to 25 apprentices per year to about 100 per year. That's for the iron workers alone. But it would also have training space and equipment for the bricklayers, cement masons, and other trowel trades. So that's pretty exciting, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed for that as well. All right. Does anybody else have anything to share of regional interest?
Ryan, I'll just share a couple quick things. Last week on November 12th, Quick Trip in Escanaba had its grand opening and ribbon cutting. It's one of they're called Phase 4, but they're one of the larger Quick Trip facilities that I've seen. And what's really nice is it um, filled in property that ended up being blighted from an old grocery store that's been vacant for about 8 or 9 years at least. And it created 50 new jobs for the area. So very good. The public came out in droves for the grand opening, and it's been super busy ever since. So that's really good. And then the Amazon warehouse project, which isn't far from the Quick Trip project, actually has All the exterior walls have gone up in the 50,000 square foot warehouse. And uh, by the time weather gets adverse, they should be all enclosed and ready to go to build out the rest of the infrastructure on the interior. And I'm sure they'll be ready to go, uh, spring, early summer of 2026. So, and that's about, close to 90 Amazon jobs and another 90 contractual jobs in the area in Delta County. So good news.
It's great, Ed. Thank you for sharing. Everybody loves a quick trip. Would anybody else like to share anything?
Hey Ryan, I've got one for the group. And this is going to be repeat for some of you, so bear with me. The Rural Leadership Fellowship Program at Northern. We just wrapped up our application period for third cohort of fellows that will conduct their fellowship from January of 26 through the end of the end of the fall semester. So calendar year of next year. We're keeping applications open for community projects. So if your community or if your organization has a project that that is appropriate, for this fellowship, in other words, a year-long fellowship with a dedicated student fellow to support that project for 15 to 20 hours a week. The student fellows are supported with a full tuition scholarship and a stipend from Northern. It's a great program. Lexi is a great spokesperson for this program because she went through it. But this is just, I guess, an advertisement or a reminder for communities. If you have a project that would be a good fit, please consider submitting a proposal. I'll drop a link in the chat so everybody has it. So
Thank
that's
you,
it for
Dave.
me. Thanks.
Is there a match requirement on that?
Pardon?
Is there a match requirement?
There is not. There's no cost to the community. The only commitment that we ask of the community or organization is having a dedicated mentor and supervisor to work with the fellow and to help communicate with Northern on making sure that the students' obligations are being met, and that there's also a coordination on the academic side where there's a faculty supervisor mentor that helps the student fellow make sure they're achieving their academic obligations because they oftentimes receive course credit for directed study for these projects. But no, the answer is no. There's no cash cost. We have had, it varies from project to project. We have had some communities more engaged in supporting professional development for the fellows, which is wonderful. We also have a really great advisory committee that also hasn't been engaged in supporting professional development. So it really is what the community wants to make it with the fellow, but there's not a budgetary requirement.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to share anything? Well, if not,
Ryan, there's a couple of us have hands up. It's kind of in queue.
I can't see them.
So Antonio, I think you were next, man.
Oh, sure. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. Land Bank wants to report out that 3 of our 4 homes are going to be ready pretty soon. We're very excited on the price points, actually, that we're able to look at. Our lowest home that will be built in the spring, most likely, is going to be $159,000 sale price all in with that MISTA grant. So that's a huge win for us to get that price point as low as we could. Big Bay is going to be a $189,000 home, price listed, no garage, but it's a beautiful home. And then we have one in Ishpeming that is 229, 1,200 square foot home with a single car garage. And then there is also one other one that is in Gwynn for 209,000. So the reason I bring up these price points between 159,000 and 229 is because we're kind of an anomaly with our grants. We're able to do this. So I just invite you to take a look at that link. We have all the data to share with this group if you'd like to see and get into new housing construction. The big question is going to be, how do we do this at scale? So we're looking to partner with other local developers. We're having conversations now with local units of government that have land that's available that we could maybe do this at scale. So keep that in mind. If you have any questions, I'm always my door is always open. And then just a reminder, I'm hosting office hours today between 12 and 1 o'clock, 1:30, and then on December 12th. And it's open to the public. It's open to local units of government. It's open to emerging developers. So happy to continue those conversations if anybody is interested in that. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Great work. Christopher.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Brian. Just a couple of quick things for folks. I think many of you on the call have probably gotten emails from Mary over the last week or so in terms of industrial projects and things like that. There is a study going around related to the potential closure of Eagle Mine, which isn't a surprise to anyone. So anything that you can do to help provide data from your counties, it's a region-wide scale, would just be really appreciated from Mary's side of things. Also, the UP Child Care Coalition officially does have funding for another year. We got the same amount of funding for 12 months as we got for 6. So we're definitely having to scale back and figure out what we're going to do. We're no longer going to be supporting directly Childcare Spark and things like that, although that program will continue to exist. We're just not going to use the coalition funding for that program. So just kind of a heads up, but if any of you haven't been part of that and you want to be, now's a good time to jump in. Or if you have been part of it, you haven't been able to be engaged and you're just overwhelmed and you want to drop out, now is actually the great time to drop out too. So there'll be an email going out soon to kind of give you those opportunities. We understand it, we're all busy, but we just rather have an active roster of folks who are actually going to be active in the coalition. You talked about training, Ryan, just so you're aware. I've talked to Andrea Brown at MAP. They want to come back to the UP again next year and do more in-person trainings through MAP. So we'll be talking into this group to get some planning training up here again. Ed and I and a few others have been on the Community Growth Academy calls, including Ryan and some other folks. So we do have a full-time community development fellow coming to the Upper Peninsula. We'll be hosting them here at the LSCP. They'll be working on projects between Marquette County and Delta County, which we're super excited about that particular project. There's a lot of really cool statewide resources that come through the academy, though. So as we learn more about that, we'll be sharing that with everyone up here as well. And then the last thing I guess I would mention, I've been getting some phone calls and some emails from folks who are working through the MDARD Rural Development Grant process, getting like some odd feedback or maybe feedback that they feel like doesn't align with the posted guidelines of the grants after like talking to staff and folks. So at our last board meeting for the grant, we talked about what the guidelines say versus how they're actually getting scored, right? And like what the process is resulting in versus what the like 4-page guidelines say. And so if you're running into things that just feel weird to you, that feel off to you, if you just share that with me, I think that would be really helpful as a board member. The next time we go to those meetings, to be like, well, we know this is what paper says, but this is what's being told on the ground, right? And where is the disconnect? We need to figure that piece out. You guys know my crusade to make MDAR grants more like ORP grants. I think it's a much more flexible program. And I think there's a lot of room for coordination there. But in the meantime, I think making sure that what you see on paper is matching what you're being told in person is really important. So thanks.
Thanks, Christopher. And if you could share my feedback with Amy, we need zoning board of appeals training.
Got it. ZBAs. Who doesn't love a good ZBA, Seuss?
Right. Thank you. Amy Kratz.
Yeah, the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity just received an $8 million grant to go towards upskilling and training new and existing workers in the maritime manufacturing and shipbuilding industry. We are looking at upskilling 720 individuals who are currently working for an employer. So we're looking for employers who are in the shipbuilding and maritime manufacturing industry to join an employer-led collaborative so that we can create new career pathways as well as curriculum to go towards that training to see what those employers actually need. So on top of that, we also got $3.6 million from the Make It in Michigan grant so that we can put money towards training institutions, colleges, universities, to help upskill and train and create those programs for these individuals in this industry. So it's a reimbursable program. We're looking at $10,000 per participant who's going to be in it, but the employer will get reimbursed 80%. And there's also going to be other initiatives to go along to help with that funding, like the Going Pro Talent Fund. Another grant we also received is we received $400,000 for the Michigan Health Endowment Grant. And there's one UP business that is already involved in that. And that is to go towards registered apprenticeship programs in social work. So anybody who is interested in going into social work for on the Michigan Health Endowment Grant. So that's all the updates that I have.
Great. Thanks, Amy.
Any questions?
Hey, Suze, I forgot one thing. If I could just really quick, I
Yeah.
know we've got some MDC folks on here.
Please.
If you're not watching Lansing, you should be right now. There are bills on both sides of the house to eliminate MEDC. We don't expect them to go anywhere, but they went to the operations committee where a lot of bills go to die. But it's a clear signal that there's a conversation happening around the future of economic development in the state of Michigan. We do expect some maybe potential tax credits to move in the summer on job creation. And I know with the LSCP, we've been really pushing hard to make sure those are easy for small businesses to access as well. But we really all collectively as a region should be watching this very carefully. I know we all rely on Marty really heavily for that. But I think it behooves us all to also do a little bit of our own research to watch how quickly things are moving there right now.
Thank you for keeping us aware.
Ryan, on a
Yes.
lighter note, Christopher had his 5 minutes of showing his award. I think Antonio needs to show his. I know they're kind of
Like 5 seconds, Lane. I just want
partners in this, but we're proud of both of them. So I just want to make sure he gets his kudos too.
So I'm going to show the other award that we received for the National Land Bank Network, just because my commissioner has the award on his desk. So, no, seriously, I just wanted to appreciate the entire group here. I just keep getting reminded, like, this is not an individual award. This is definitely a group award. This is exactly the stuff that we need to be talking about. And especially with Ryan, Christopher, and others that are not on the call, I just keep getting reminded that we go to these conferences downstate and we are toe to toe with information exchange, with things that are happening, with trends, with policy, and just I'm grateful for the learning that I've been given the opportunity to do here. And yeah, thank you, Lynn. I appreciate that kind word. And yeah, just let's keep this moving in the right direction. So thanks again.
Way to go, guys. All right. If there are no more shares, then I'm going to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. Our next meeting is Thursday, January 22nd from 10 to noon Eastern. It's going to be a virtual meeting because I don't know if there's going to be a lot of snow. So look forward to that. I'll send out calendar invites once I get the meetings locked in, and we'll go from there. So have a good weekend and happy Thanksgiving, guys. And
Happy Thanksgiving.
holiday season.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Yep,
Happy
bye.
Thanksgiving.
You too.
Thank you.